All right, thank you guys. Huge slate here today in the NBA, so let's get into it. The Blazers take on the Knicks, 1 p.m. Eastern start time in New York. The Portland Trail Blazers are the 1.5-point favorite on the road here, numbers 218 flat. And if you like the Knicks in a slight upset at home here, they're plus 105 on the money line. Now, do you want to catch a couple more points on that spread when you're betting these NBA games? I know I do sometimes, and that's where teasers certainly come into play. We're 3-0 in our last 3 crowd pleaser teasers on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you actually want to get complete access to all of my premium picks on that website, we also have a package called the board member tier, and that unlocks every premium pick that I give out on that site as well. And you're going to get access to all those picks through the end of February. Now, we currently have an enthusiastic community of over 1,175 paid members just like you who are signed up and active on that page. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, we have memberships as low as $1.99. And the link for that site is in the description section below. Once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, guys, the Knicks have lost 5 out of their last 7 ball games. They're dead last in the NBA in scoring. The Knicks are averaging just 102 points a game at Madison Square Garden. And they're also in the bottom 10 in defensive rebounding at home as well. Now, they're taking on a Portland squad who's on a 2-game winning streak themselves. And they also went 4-1 against the number in their last 5. Now, Dame Lillard has been upgraded to probable here today. So that's certainly good news, not only for Portland backers, but Portland fans in general. Dame Lillard is scoring nearly 30 points a game, along with 5 rebounds and 7 assists. Meanwhile, Gary Trent Jr. is scoring 14 points a game himself, along with a couple of rebounds a night as well. The Blazers have won 7 of 11 on the road this season, and they covered in 73% of those contests. Now, total-wise, Portland's last 4 straight all got over the number. They're also 7-1 to the over in their last 8. I'm going to lean toward the Portland Trail Blazers, minus 1.5, and the over 218. And before we go ahead and move on, if you are new to this channel, if you just kind of stumbled across this channel here today or earlier this week, I just want to take another quick time out and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for Saturday's NBA basketball action. Happy Saturday to you guys. Hopefully you had a great start to your weekend. I think I went to bed at 9? 9 o'clock, yeah. I got my weekend well rested in bed at 9 o'clock last night on the East Coast. But anyway, guys, yeah, woke up this morning to some not so favorable results in the NBA. But anyway, before we go ahead and dive into some more free content, I just have to quickly remind you guys that we've won our last 3 straight crowd pleaser teasers on patreon.com/BrockPage. We also have a board member tier package that gives you access to all of my premium picks that I give out on that site every day until the end of February. It's our top tier membership. And just remember, guys, when you sign up for a membership on Patreon, you're going to get access to all the lesser expensive memberships absolutely free. Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. And for those who are wondering what the difference is between my free picks here on YouTube and my Patreon site, well, what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you as I break down the daily card and focus in typically on just 4 to 5 premium selections per day. They're my personal plays, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, I'm having a lot more success wagering on games that way in smaller sample sizes versus betting on every single game that's on the slate, side and total, like I do here with my free leans on YouTube. Now, we do currently have a community of over 1,175 paid members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action yourself, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on here, guys, like I said, we got ourselves a pretty big slate of Saturday NBA action. We got 2 afternoon games here on the East Coast, so we're going to dive into our, East Coast time, that is. So we're going to dive into our second afternoon contest. It is going to be Nuggets versus the Kings, 5 p.m. Eastern start time in Sacramento. The Nuggets are -3 on the road. Numbers 227.5. Denver's won 6 out of their last 8 ball games, 75% against the number in those contests. The Nuggets are winning over 63% of their road games this season, and they rank in the top 5 in road scoring. Nikola Jokic is scoring over 26 points a game, along with 12 boards and 8 assists. The Joker's also averaging 2 steals a night as well. Now keep an eye on Jamal Murray. He's currently listed as day-to-day. The starting point guard is responsible for 19 points a night, along with 4 rebounds and 5 assists himself. Now the Nuggets are also in the top 3 in the NBA in defensive rebounding as well. They're taking on a Sacramento squad who's covering just 41% of their games at the Golden One Center, and they rank dead last in the NBA in defensive field goal percentage at home. The Kings are allowing their opponents to make nearly 50% of their field goals, and they're also allowing 121 points a game on their home court as well. Now, total-wise, Sacramento's 8-4 to the over at the Golden One Center, 7-3 to the over in their last 10 meetings with Denver. Meanwhile, the Nuggets on the other side of things, they are 8-3 to the over when they traveled this season themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Denver Nuggets -3 and the over 227.5. All right, next ball game. It is going to be Bulls versus the Magic, and that's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off in Orlando. The Chicago Bulls are -1.5 on the road, totals 224 and a hook. And if you like the Magic in the slightest of upsets here at home, they're catching even money for an outright win. Now, the Bulls are on a 2-game losing streak, just 1-5 against the number in their last 6. Lauri Markkanen is doubtful for Chicago. He's responsible for nearly 20 points a night. Now, the Bulls allow 119 points a game on the road, and they rank in the bottom 10 in the NBA in offensive rebounding. Now, they're taking on an Orlando squad who put up 123 points on Chicago just last night in a victory. The Magic's in the top 5 in offensive rebounding, and they make nearly 39% of their three-pointers at the Amway Center. Nick Vucevic is scoring 23 points a game, along with 12 boards and 4 assists. Meanwhile, Evan Fournier is scoring 18 points a night himself, along with 3 rebounds and 4 assists as well. Orlando's in the top 5 in the NBA defensively in third-quarter points allowed at home. And when it comes to the total in this one, O-Town is 3-0 to the over in their last trio of ball games, 5-1 to the over in their last 6. Meanwhile, Chicago saw 7 out of their last 11 road games get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Orlando Magic +1.5 and the over 224 and a hook. All right, next game, we're looking at the Spurs versus the Rockets, 8 p.m. East. The San Antonio Spurs are the 1-point favorite on the road here. Totals 221.5. Now, San Antonio's 0-3 against the number in their last 3 straight. Bottom 3 in the NBA in defensive rebounding. Their opponents are hitting nearly 40% of their three-pointers against them. And the Spurs are also in the bottom 5 defensively in first-quarter points allowed, really kind of putting themselves behind the 8 ball early in games. Now, Aldridge is still out, Lonnie Walker's out as well, and DeJounte Murray's been listed as questionable. Now, they're taking on a Houston squad who's won 7 out of their last 8 themselves, and they also covered the number in 75% of those contests. Now, the Rockets are in the top 3 in defending the 3-ball at home, and they give up just 105 points a game at the Toyota Center. Victor Oladipo scoring 21 points a game for the Rockets, 5 rebounds and 5 assists for the veteran guard. Certainly a good start to his tenure here in Houston. Meanwhile, Eric Gordon is scoring 18 a night himself, a couple of boards and 2 assists a night for Gordon. Now, guys, Christian Wood is still out for Houston. Don't think I forgot about him, their top scorer. But the good news is we're looking, might see some John Wall action here. He's been upgraded to questionable. So keep an eye on him before tip-off. Might see a couple of minutes out of the veteran there. Now, total-wise, Houston's last 2 straight stayed under the number, 6-3 to the under in their last 9. The Rockets also saw 8 out of their last 9 ball games at the Toyota Center stay under the line as well. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Houston Rockets +1 and the under 221.5. All right, next game. We're looking at the Bucks versus the Cavs, 8 p.m. Eastern start time in Cleveland. Now, the Bucks are -10 on the road here. Totals 227.5. Milwaukee's on a 3-game winning streak, 5-2 against the number in their last 7. Milwaukee's in the top 3 in offensive rebounding, and they make 40% of their 3 balls. Giannis Antetokounmpo is scoring over 27 a game, along with 11 boards and 6 assists. Meanwhile, Chris Middleton's scoring 21 points a night himself, along with 6 boards and 6 assists as well. The Bucks score 120 points a night on the road. They're also in the top 10 in defensive rebounding as well. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who hasn't covered a point spread in their last 5 straight, and they also lost 6 out of their last 8 straight up. Now, the Cavaliers scored just 103 points a night, and they're dead last in shooting from the stripe. So really struggling from the foul line. If you put them to the line, a lot of times you're not going to pay for it. But anyway, total-wise, Cleveland's 5-0 to the under in their last 5 straight, 80% to the under at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Meanwhile, the Bucks on the other side saw 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Cleveland stay under the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Bucks minus 10 and the under 227.5. Next contest, it is going to be Timberwolves versus the Thunder, 8 p.m. East. OKC's minus 1, totals 218.5. OKC's just 3-6 straight up in their last 9 ball games, just 2-8 straight up on their home court this season. The Thunder's covering only 30% of their ball games at the Chesapeake, and they're dead last in defensive rebounding at home. Gilgeous-Alexander is doubtful. Lou Dort is out. OKC's allowing over 118 points a night on their home court. Now they're taking on a Minnesota squad who successfully covered the point spread in their last 4 straight. 7-3 against the number in their last 10 meetings with OKC. Malik Beasley is dropping over 20 points a night along with 5 rebounds and a couple assists. Meanwhile, D'Angelo Russell scoring 20 points a game himself along with 3 boards and 5 assists as well. Now total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, 7 out of Minnesota's last 10 meetings with OKC did get over the number. Meanwhile, OKC saw 6 out of their last 9 get over the total themselves, throwing out yesterday's game. The OKC Thunder has also gone 60% to the over on their home court. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the underdog Minnesota Timberwolves +1 and the over 218.5. All right, next matchup. A lot of eyes are going to be on this one for numerous reasons. It's going to be Nets versus the Sixers, 8 p.m. East at the Wells Fargo Center. Now, Philadelphia is -3. That number is going to continue to climb, and I'll explain a little bit about that why in just a few seconds. Total's 237.5. Now, the Sixers have won 7 out of their last 9 contests, 70% against the number in their last 10. Now, the Sixers have a win percentage of .833 on their home court, and they covered the number in 8 out of those 12 contests. Joel Embiid scoring over 29 points a game along with 11 rebounds and 3 assists. Now, keep an eye on Joel as he's been listed as questionable. Kind of a AD and LeBron situation. He's listed as questionable every night. Meanwhile, Tobias Harris is dropping over 20 a night himself along with 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Philadelphia's in the top 5 in home scoring, top 10 in points allowed. Now, they're taking on a Brooklyn squad who's going to have to go to work without Kevin Durant. He's in contact tracing protocol right now. Didn't even travel with the team today, and that's why you're going to see that spread number continue to climb, in my opinion. Now, the Nets have lost 2 out of their last 3, and they do find themselves just 3-6 against the spread in their last 9. The Nets are dead last in the NBA in points allowed on the road. They're also in the bottom 10 in defensive field goal percentage away from home as well. Brooklyn gives up nearly 123 points per contest when they travel. And when it comes to the total in this one, Brooklyn still has 2 big-time scorers on the court here tonight in Harden and Irving. They also saw their last 5 straight get over the line, 7-2 to the over on the road. Meanwhile, the Sixers are 8-4 to the over at the Wells Fargo Center themselves. Give me the Philadelphia 76ers -3 and the over 237.5. All right, next contest, it is going to be Raptors versus the Hawks, 8 p.m. East. The Raptors are -4 on the road, totals 222.5. And if you like the Hawks and an upset at home, they're plus $1.75 on the money line. Now, the Hawks are on a 3-game losing streak, just 41% against the number at the State Farm Arena this year. Atlanta's in the bottom 3 in home offensive field goal percentage, and they rank in the bottom 3 defensively in fourth quarter points allowed. Hunter's out, Okongwu, Herter, and Trae Young are all listed as questionable, so definitely keep an eye on those guys, especially Trae Young, as he's this team's leading scorer. Now they're taking on a Raptors squad who's On a 3-game winning streak themselves, big win over Brooklyn last night, putting up 123 points. The Raptors are in the top 5 in shooting the 3-ball on the road, and they find themselves averaging 115 points a game when they travel. Now, Freddie VanVleet is scoring 20 points a game along with 4 rebounds and 6 assists. The shooting guard is also averaging 2 steals a game defensively. Meanwhile, Pascal Siakam scoring 20 points a night himself along with 8 rebounds and 5 assists. The Raptors are in the top 10 in defensive field goal percentage. And when it comes to the number in this one, 6 out of Toronto's last 10 meetings with the Hawks did stay under the posted total. Meanwhile, 3 out of Atlanta's last 4 stayed under the line themselves, 8-4 to the under on their home court. I'm going to lean toward the Toronto Raptors, -4, and the under 222.5. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our next ball game. It is going to be Warriors versus the Mavericks, 8:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off in Dallas. The Dallas Mavericks are -4.5, numbers 231 and a hook. And if you like the Golden State Warriors in an upset on the road here, they're plus $1.45 for some money line cash. Now, Steph Curry's averaging over 28 points a game for the Warriors, 6 rebounds a game, and 6 assists for the multi-time NBA champ. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins is scoring 18 points a game himself, along with 5 rebounds and a couple assists. Golden State scores 114 points a game, and they also rank at the top 3 defensively in defensive field goal percentage. Now, they're taking on a Dallas squad who lost 7 out of their last 8 ball games themselves, and they also failed to cover the point spread 7 times during that stretch. Dallas is just 2-7 straight up at home, and they rank dead last in shooting the 3-ball. The Mavs were also scoring just 106 points a game at the American Airlines Center. When it comes to the total on this one, Dallas is 5-4 to the under on their home court, 13-10 to the under overall for the season. Meanwhile, Golden State saw 3 out of their last 4 stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Golden State Warriors plus 4.5 and the under 231 and a hook. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be the Grizzlies versus the Pelicans, 9 p.m. Eastern start time in New Orleans. The Pels are -1.5 at home, numbers 226 flat. But despite a pretty solid victory here last night, New Orleans is just 40% against the number on their home court this year, and they also find themselves in the bottom 3 in free throw percentage. Now, the Pelicans are allowing 114 points a game on their home court. They're taking on a Grizzlies squad who successfully covered the point spread in 7 out of their last 9, and they also went a solid 7-2 straight up in those contests. Now, the Grizzlies are in the top 5 in road scoring, top 5 in road offensive rebounding. John Moran is scoring 19 points a game along with 2 rebounds and 7 assists. Meanwhile, Dillon Brooks is also scoring over 15 points a night himself, 4 rebounds and 3 assists for the starting guard. The Grizzlies are 6-2 straight up on the road this season, and they also covered the number in 75% of those road ball games. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, 3 out of Memphis' last 4 got over the posted total, 63% to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, the Pels went 80% to the over in their last 10 ball games themselves. And ironically, they're also 8-2 to the over at the Smoothie King Center. So with all that in mind, I'm going to lean toward the underdog Memphis Grizzlies plus 1.5 and the over 226. And with that, guys, we're going to now dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Pistons versus the Lakers, 10 p.m. East. Now, the Lakers are -14 at home, totals 213.5. LA is just 2-4 against the number in their last 6, 4-5 against the spread on their home court. As usual, AD and LeBron, as always, they're both listed as questionable. The Lakers also make just 74% of their free throws, and they rank in the bottom 10 defensively in first quarter points allowed at home. Now, they're taking on a Pistons squad who, I get it, they're horrible. They're not a very good basketball team, but they are not helpless against the number, okay? Once again, they're taking on a Pistons squad who covered the number in 4 out of their last 7. Detroit's in the top 3 in the NBA defensively in fourth quarter points allowed, and they also successfully covered the number in 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Los Angeles. Jeremy Grant scoring 24 a game along with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Meanwhile, Blake Griffin is scoring over a dozen a game himself, along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists as well. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this matchup here, Detroit's 4-3 to the over in their last 7, 73% to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, the Lakers are 5-4 to the over as the home team. I'm going to lean toward the Detroit Pistons. That's a new team there. The Detroit Pistons plus 14 and the over 213.5. What a great, strong closing argument there. All right, guys. With that said, we are going to, where are we? Where are we at in the show? Okay, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 3-0 at our last 3 crowd pleaser teasers on that site. I like the Blazers minus 1.5 over 218. Nuggets minus 3 over 227 and a hook. Magic plus 1.5 over 224.5. Rockets plus 1 under 221 and a hook. Bucks minus 10 under 227.5. Timberwolves plus 1 over 218.5. Sixers minus 3 over 237 and a hook. Raptors minus 4 under 222 and a hook. Warriors plus 4.5 under 231.5. Grizzlies plus 1.5 over 226. And before I give you my next and final matchup for the show, one final reminder that you can access all of my premium selections on my Patreon site by subscribing to the board member tier. You're going to get access to every pick that I give out on that website through the end of February in that board member package. We also have packages on that site as low as $1.99 through the end of February as well. I'm going to lean toward the Detroit Pistons plus 14 and the over 213.5. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into some shout-outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to Random Noob, King D, Damon Rhodes, Alan Francis Pablo, Michael Heineman, Chris Brown, Gino Estep, George Sylvia, Will Evans, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Nolan Hullinger. Nolan, great comment, made me laugh hysterically with regard to my contact lens problem yesterday. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. Once again, guys, if you end up getting a package here today on Patreon, just keep in mind we're going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.